Welcome back. Time right now to bring in our panel. With us here in studio this week, we have former state party chair for the Indiana Democrats, Robin Winston, former vice chair of the Indiana Trump campaign in 2016, Tony Samuel, Democratic strategist Lindsay Hake, who worked on the Destiny Wells campaign this past year, and for the Republicans, former state rep Mike Murphy. So Lindsay, I'll start with you. This week, Destiny Wells, who you worked with this year, she was among those in your party vocally speaking out on this situation involving Greg Taylor, saying she looked forward to a new generation of Democratic leadership. What do you think? Did Senate Democrats make a mistake putting Taylor back in his leadership post?
It certainly sends a bad signal to the Indiana legislature and to the public, obviously. I'm sure my colleagues have other thoughts to share, but I share Destiny's views. Absolutely, I think they should move forward with a different leader. There's still time to do that. Caucus rules allows the caucus to meet, whenever they dictate they need to. And we'll see what happens the next coming days.
Yeah, we'll see how this may ebb and flow as we have this conversation here on Friday. We'll see how things move ahead in the days to come. Mike, you served in the General Assembly, and unfortunately this has been an issue in both chambers, in both parties for years, despite some attempts here recently at required training and things of that nature to prevent harassment. It's obviously still a major issue.
It's been going on for, since the State House was built in 1888, I'm sure. It's a good old boys club, and they protect each other. Both caucuses are afraid to go after each other because there's guilty people in both caucuses. Now, I'm not going to say there's a lot of people. You may have 4 or 5 people in the House. You may have 2 or 3 people in the Senate. It's very small. 95% of everybody is there for the right reasons. But it does happen. And they need to get it under control, and they need to get serious about it. And to say you don't know about it, it's just not true.
Robin, what's your response to all of this? You've served as party chair, the current state party chair facing some pressure on this as well. Some Democrats saying he should be doing more to perhaps pressure Taylor to step down. Where do you think all of this is headed?
I think that everybody should feel safe in their workplace, regardless of their gender and regardless of their working conditions. And until people feel safe, Mike is exactly right. You're never going to have stability there. As it relates to the Indiana Democratic Party, we are not in control of the caucus. That is a caucus decision made by their 10 members who vote on who they want as their leaders. As Lindsay said, if they believe that there's a need to revote or to address this issue, that's in their domain to do it. But I also want us to keep in mind that at the national level, we are bypassing people who have been now accused of the Department of Defense nominee for sexual assault with a combined police report. We have today Linda McMahon, their kids that were exploited by a WWE employee. We need to have all this slow down and realize that we'll never have equality until women feel good in the workplace.
So Tony, let's talk about that here at the federal level. We're seeing a number of cabinet nominees who faced various accusations here in recent years, as Robin referenced there. Matt Gaetz taking his name out of the running for Attorney General. Now it's Pam Bondi instead, after it really seemed that Gaetz's confirmation in the Senate was questionable at best. What should happen here with some of these other cabinet nominations?
Well, and that's why you have this vetting process between the senators and even public vetting, and the media looks at everybody. So everything's exposed. If you've got something in your background that is a problem, it's going to come out. Whether it's true or not, that's up to the individual to prove one way or another, and maybe they're in the court system, maybe they're not. But with Matt Gaetz and the Attorney General nomination, I think Pam Bondi maybe was the first choice, and there might have been some other reasons for throwing Matt Gaetz out there. It might make it easier on other a little bit controversial picks to get through now that that's been withdrawn, and Pam Bondi is going to be a great pick for Attorney General.
Lindsay, what are your thoughts on what we've seen here in Washington with some of these cabinet picks?
Obviously, I have questions about former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi. Obviously, she has some questionable giving in her background for campaign contributions, which are already of question amongst many D.C. circles. But I do think she is a talented AG. I actually think she is more to worry about than now former Congressman Matt Gaetz. So I think I share my thoughts as to my colleague here, Tony, saying that she's a talented Attorney General. Former prosecutor, There's
a lot of experience in that area.
100% that Matt Gaetz did not have.
Yeah, Mike, we'd wondered last week how Todd Young would have approached this Matt Gaetz nomination. Now he and others in the Senate won't have to take a vote on his confirmation after all.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Todd Young is a stand-up guy. You know, when it came time to voting against the Democratic judges, he voted against all 4. He's just always in the right spot, making the right judgments, and he's a great senator for Indiana.
Tony, meantime, Senator Braun facing some criticism from fellow Republicans this week for not being in Washington as the still Democratic-led Senate tried to get some of those final judicial confirmations through. Had he been there, some of those picks may have been held up a while longer. He was at a meeting with incoming Republican governors instead. What do you think? Should he have been in Washington?
Well, I don't know. I haven't heard his public response to that question yet. Maybe there was a really strong reason why he couldn't make it. You know, had he been there, it would have been better for Republicans. But it's tough to juggle. You know, he's the incoming governor now. He did a great job. He has been doing with the transition, announcing who's on the transition team, announcing a reorganization that's going to make government more efficient with 8 cabinet secretaries. Everything looks really good for what he's doing with Micah Beckwith coming in. It's going to be a strong administration.
Micah Beckwith, as part of that cabinet reorganization, the lieutenant governor will no longer be in charge of tourism and housing as they have been in the past. Robin, you get the last word here. What are you watching for here in the final weeks of the year with the new Braun administration and the new Trump administration getting set to take office? What are you watching here closely from your side of the aisle?
Well, first off, one reason that I'm glad that Mike Braun wasn't there, we got 4 eminently qualified federal judges appointed to lifetime terms on the bench, reflecting the diversity and the commitment of the Biden-Harris administration to the federal bench. So I'm proud that we got that part done. As far as the General Assembly goes, I think the General Assembly is going to follow the lead of the governor. He's got an overwhelming majority in the House and the Senate, so he's going to be able to be okay there. As far as the president, one thing that was left out is that this administration has not followed the transition playbook. A lot of these nominees will never see FBI clearance checks. So that's part of the reason that you're running into some of those problems. We've gone through, I know some of us have gone through that on vetting things, and what's wrong with doing that? Let people, if you're going to put them in charge of intelligence for our nation, in charge of defense for our nation, why not have, in the top judicial office, why not have them go through an FBI background check?
There's been talk about will there be recess appointments as well. We'll see how all of that plays out here in the nation's capital as we move toward the new year. All right, coming up next, we're going to hear from the president of the Indiana Chamber to see what issues they're focused on for next year's session and how taxes could be a part of that conversation as well. Stick around. We'll be right back.